What's going on, Military Cashflow family? Today is going to be a great episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see that I have my lovely wife sitting next to me. So this is going to be, it's our first time on the airwaves, at least on the, well, actually she's been on the podcast before, but this is her first time being a co-host. So
I finally made the cut.
So Corina, please tell the Military Cashflow family who you are, what you do, and some quick bio really quick.
All right, Military Cashflow. My name is Corina Wynn. I'm his wife, and I am an active duty service member. I'm an attorney, and I got two amazing boys. I know you guys have seen them on the podcast.
They can't really see him on the podcast. I mean, you mean?
Oh yeah. You're right. You've seen them on what, the YouTube channel?
Yeah,
the YouTube channel. Yeah. So those guys are mine. This guy's mine. And I'm so excited to be here. I'm even more excited about the person that we interviewed. He is awesome. Total goals, NCO straight through and through. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so Sean's going to come on. He's a retired Air Force. He did 20 years, and he did what a lot of people talk about. You know, I'm going to buy a home at every single duty station, right? But he did it the right way. And he talks about his journey, how he bought his properties, which turned into rentals. He talks about how he coaches, teaches, and mentors his younger Air Force soldiers. He talks about a myriad of just phenomenal things. This is going to be a great episode.
They're airmen.
Yeah, air. Oh, I said soldiers. Yeah, so Army. So it's going to be a great episode. He's just touching bases on everything, and then he talks about the transition from active duty to retirement. Now he's making his regular retirement pay plus disability, and now he transitioned over to being a realtor as well as a wholesaler, and how he's marrying those two together and actually helping and continuing to help more people outside of the military as well. So it's just a phenomenal episode. You guys stay tuned for this episode. Make sure you watch. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification. I mean, if you're watching this, you got to hit a couple hit the like a couple times for just how gorgeous my wife is. Can I get a couple likes? Just how gorgeous she is. So, and then if you're listening to this on YouTube and you're sick of hearing my voice, now you get to hear my beautiful wife's voice. So leave us an honest review. We really appreciate that. If you have any questions or anything like that, hit us up in the Facebook group or hit us up on IG or Facebook or any of those social media sites. If you're you're just now starting to get into this, if you're listening to this episode and you're like, dang, Sean talks a lot about investing in yourself, and actually going and doing things, right? We got the Military Cashflow Real Estate Investing course for those who are just now starting off and want to learn the ins and outs of exactly what you need to do, how to find the deal, how to buy the deal, how to renovate, how to do all that crazy stuff. So
yeah. And also, if you go further back in the YouTube channel, you'll get a lot of other awesome information.
Yes. You can check it all out at militarycashflow.com. And with that, let's get into Sean's episode. Again, make sure you got your pen and pad with you, especially if you are just now getting to the military. So make sure you have your pen and pad, take notes, and then take action. With that said, let's get into the video. What's going on, guys? My name is Dan Wynn.
And I'm Corina Wynn.
And this is Military Cashflow. Hey, today we got a special guest, Sean Hudson. How you doing today, Sean, man? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're doing, where you're at, and all that stuff?
Hey, how y'all guys doing today? I'm doing well. Had a productive day today. Had a couple of house showings. Just a little bit about myself. Originally from New Jersey. Joined the military to get out of New Jersey. Got stationed back in New Jersey for 12 long years.
Yeah. Hey, but I hear the accent though. I like it.
Yeah. Just retired in June 2020. Right there in the middle of COVID. So 20 years, no retirement ceremony, no going away luncheon, nothing. Just hey, thank you for your service. I started wholesaling in 2017. I got my license in 2000, my real estate license in 2018. So as an active duty member, I was, in the real estate world. I used to fly. I was a load master on C-17s. So I was always gone. So I actually, found a local wholesaler. We teamed up and we just, that was the way that I was able to still do deals while, I was gone. And to this day, man, we're still partners,
Dude, that's awesome, man. So,
yeah,
so really quick, what branch of service were you on? I know you were on some airplanes, you were gone all the time, but what branch of service were you in?
The United States Air Force.
All right, Air Force, dude. Okay, good stuff.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So you stayed in the military. You did the 20 the full 20. I read a little bit about your bio. Really, really interesting. It seems like you're doing, you're growing wealth. You're growing wealth like the way that I think what we try to teach most service members to do, right? It's not about like getting it done like today. Everything doesn't have to happen today. It's kind of over time. So I really like that. And I would love for you to discuss some of that. So let's talk about where you started at. Like, where'd you this whole journey begin at?
I tell people I got into real estate by accident. I was stationed in New Jersey. I had a chief master sergeant at E9. He told me, he said, "Hey man," he said, "you have access to that VA loan. You should buy a house in every duty station that you go to." And he said, "Don't buy the flashiest house." He said, "Buy something that you could live in comfortably for 3 to 4 years." Well, he told me this about 8 years in. I did it 10 years in. But yeah, after that, every duty station I went to, I purchased a home with my VA loan, no money down. And so right now I have 3 rentals. And well, we just sold one in Alabama because, with COVID, we had a tenant that wasn't paying for a couple of months. And we were just like, okay, you know what, let's just get from underneath this one and we'll pick up 2 or 3 more here later on.
Okay. Now, when you say we, you mean you and your spouse?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm reeling her in slow.
Yeah, no. He did the same thing. It's just kind of like trying to almost pulling teeth. You're like, come on. And it's, yeah.
If she was here, I'd have pulled up a chair and said, come on.
Yeah, this might be a thing. We'll have to do do another show and then have couples thing on and kind of talk real estate. That'd be pretty dope.
Yeah.
But so that first deal, well, let's talk about the first deal a little bit. You're 10 years in, which I think that's still phenomenal. You still have another 10 years to go. I mean, that's enough time to acquire more properties. You heard about your VA loan. Seems like you had an E9 that was looking out for you, really looking out for you, not just telling you, hey, just buy something and appreciate it. Saying buy something comfortable. That's a key word, right? Buy something comfortable, not look for the flashy stuff, something that you can rent out afterwards, right? You can turn into an actual asset. So, so what did that process look like for you? Because obviously you were all new to this, and you're looking for your first house. I mean, what's going through your mind? And were you married at the time? Like what can just outline that situation for us?
Yeah, so at the time, I was not married, and single bachelor. I wanted the pimp out pad, but I can tell you. So one of the reason, like when I'm a realtor now, I try not to do what that realtor did to me, because the realtor, he was a retired Air Force. I used to hoop with him in a gym.
Oh man, what?
Yeah, and he was trying to sell me, some of the craziest stuff. Like, it was just one where somebody died in the house. The house smelled. It was totally tore up from the floor up. And he's like, "Oh yeah, this is a good deal." And and I'm looking, now that I look at it, he was just trying to get a commission check out of me. and I was just like, "No," I'm like, "We're gonna need about $30,000 to fix this up." So the next house we went to was a move-in ready turnkey. Let's go, for $10,000 cheaper than the one that he wanted me to fix and flip and move into. And that kind of right there. So as I'm a real estate agent now, and as I'm selling, properties to the younger airmen or the other NCOs, I always keep that in mind, like how that realtor was just trying to get a commission check out of me.
Yeah. They do that. So, if you were talking to some of those airmen, some of those NCOs, so junior NCOs, what kind of what would your process be as a realtor?
So first I tell them, to show me their pre-approval. Once I see their pre-approval, I say, okay, now let's subtract 50,000 from that.
Why?
Just for the simple fact, I was, acting first sergeant for a while. I seen all of the kids getting in trouble, not paying any bills on time. So I said, hey, we're going to find you a mortgage that is nice and comfortable, a couple of $100 underneath your BAH. And then I said, then we're going to find you a roommate so you could do what we call house hacking. And then you're going to find you another roommate just in case that roommate don't work out. Because when I lived in the dorms and they told me that I could move out, I went and found that house to rent, and I had 2 people move in with me, and I gained no equity, no nothing from it. So that's what I tell them.
That's crazy. It seems like it kind of came full circle, right? You said you had a senior NCO looking out for you, kind of showing you the ropes, and then you basically did the same thing now that you're a realtor. Not only are you looking out for them, but you're really giving them game as far as, hey, not just get something at your BAH level, but let's look a little bit below that, and then on top of that, let's get you some tenants so that you are house hacking and making money. Potentially making money while you're living for free and collecting your BAH, right? Or at the very least, you're paying a little bit of money and you're keeping up the rest of that BAH. So that's amazing. That's awesome. I applaud you for that.
That's fantastic.
As a C-17 loadmaster, I had a lot of my loadmaster friends, and our airmen, the junior guy, they're always gone. So I said, go find yourself another loadmaster to move in. Y'all never be in the house together. So it's not like having a real roommate.
So that's a cool thing. That's an interesting thing, right? A lot of people will associate house hacking pretty much only with multifamily, right? So, I mean, I'm a big advocate of multifamily, especially like residential multifamily, but there's some people that don't really like multifamily, right? And they still want to figure out how they can potentially turn it into an asset to where they're not just strictly paying everything down, right? And that's one great way to do it. Just like you outlined, you can find a single family home, especially if you're a single airman, right? You can find a single family home and then just rent 2 rooms out. I mean, if you want that feel, if you don't want a multifamily, or it's tough to find a multifamily. That's usually what we see. Like Atlanta, a duplex is what, depending on where you go. I mean, those things are like $400,000 or $500,000 just for a raggedy duplex for the most part. So, I mean, you can get a nice single family home and then rent those 2 rooms out. I like that strategy.
Yeah, and I usually pitch the quadplex, the duplex, because you're able to use your VA loan for that. Anything under 4 units, you can use your VA loan. Anything over that, now you're looking at commercial. But in Charleston, there are really no duplexes too much that you would want to live in. So the duplexes is usually in those not too good neighborhoods. So that's why I didn't push those too much. Now, if they were just looking for some cash flow, and that's the way they came, I was like, okay, well, I'll take you to the other side of the track so we can find one of those.
Just don't leave all your stuff at home. You know what I mean? Where you're gone. You know what I mean?
It's funny, a true story. I lie to you not. One of the reasons, I flew a lot, so I would never pack my bag during the day, because I had somebody that I worked with. He went on a mission, came back, his house was empty, and he thought he got evicted. So he went to the front office and said, what happened? And they were like, nothing happened. The neighbor said, oh, we thought you moved because a U-Haul truck pulled up to your house. Like, they took my man pictures off the wall.
Wow.
That they robbed him. I was like, okay.
That's crazy. Wow.
That's awful.
So just backtracking a little bit, we talked about, how you're doing phenomenal things as a realtor, and we'll get more into that as well, that journey as well. But going back to the first deal, what did that first deal look like for you?
It was pretty smooth and seamless. It was a 1,100 square foot, condo, which I still own to this day. And it was turnkey. And actually, it was one of the pilots that was in my squadron's house, but we didn't know it until about 2-3 weeks later as contracts started going through. And I was like, hey, I know this name. And so that's how funny how things work out. But like I said, I moved in. I wish he would have said, okay, now when you move into this place, get a roommate. But, I was just living there, bachelor pad, friends over and stuff like that. But after that, it was pretty seamless. I bought it, and lo and behold, 1 year later, I got orders to move, and I looked at the mortgage, I looked at the rents in the area before I purchased the property. And I didn't skip a heartbeat, because I knew I was going to be able to rent it for, and still cash flow at least $300 to $400 a month.
That's great.
Yeah. And that's really important for people who are just, that want to buy a single family and are just starting to get into that process, is to make that analysis before they buy, right? You don't want to purchase a house and then realize when you get ready to PCS that your mortgage is, the same price or possibly even more than what you would get for rent.
Yeah. And as a realtor, I've had to have those conversations with people. They say, hey, I received orders, we're moving. I'm like, hey, how long ago did you buy a house? Oh, I bought it 8 months ago. I was like, you might as well rent that. I was like, because you're going to pay $20,000 just to sell your own house. I was like, you might as well just rent that out for a little while, and hopefully, you get some good rents so you can pay this mortgage down. And that's why I advise people not to ball out. This is not your forever house.
That's the key.
Yeah.
That is the key. And I think a lot of people are missing out. A lot of people are wanting to, take that perfect IG pic, or take that, that Facebook stunt, you know what I mean? So take the picture and then show it. You got to realize this isn't your forever house, that first home, especially if you're going to make this a career, right? If you're going to make the military a career, and you're going to be in for a while, you're going to PCS again. Hey man, just think of it as an actual investment, right? Like, what is it going to rent for after you get done? Not just something nice to live in, and you're going to have to continually pay it. And then after you move, just like the situation that you've outlined, after you move in a year or two, if you have no equity, usually, because when people use the VA loan, you're putting 0% down. So you're very highly leveraged, right? So sometimes 100%, sometimes even over that with the VA funding fee and things, right? And all the closing costs associated with it. So you could potentially be, upside down on your house immediately when you move in, as far as what it's worth and what your mortgage is for. So I think that's a phenomenal point. You got to do that due diligence on the front end, so you don't hit that.
And also what I do, it's funny. I see it all the time when we go to the closing table, where the lender pulls out that amortization table, and then they say, hey, this is this, and then they pull it away real quick. I say, hey, no, let my client see this. Just to tell them, like, okay, if you do want to make some money when you PCS and when you sell, hey, make one extra payment a year, make an extra $100, payment a month. Do something to get a hold of that amortization, because your first 5 years, you're paying nothing but interest. Well, you're paying a little bit towards the mortgage, but.
And what do those extra payments do for somebody? Like, outlining that, like what is the purpose of that?
So the extra payments, just by the math that I've done on some of these houses, that one extra payment a year can almost knock about 5 years off of your mortgage. And you think about, we get, when we go TDY, we get per diem checks, or, you get bonuses. I always tell people, hey man, it's okay to go out, have fun a little bit. I like just throw a little bit of that towards your mortgage, here and there, because you never know what can happen. I mean, life always happens. You got humanitarian PCSs where, somebody in your family gets sick, and all of a sudden you leave a lot earlier than what you thought you were going to do. So you always want to stay on top of it.
Or COVID.
Oh,
all right. Okay. So you got that first deal, went to, you PCS after that, recycled a couple times. And was there any like big lessons learned, throughout those 3 properties that you did, those couple PCSs that you've done, like big lessons learned with, hey, how I want to approach, investing. And were you also thinking about that? Like, hey, I'm going to keep these 3 homes, and I'm going to keep these until I retire. Of course, I'm going to get my retirement income, but then this is going to be, just additional income, or this is going to be kind of my, extra TSP, if you will, you know what I mean? Like, this is my extra retirement vehicle. Cause as you pay down that, as your tenants pay down that debt, that's equity that's now added to your net worth. So what was your thoughts, and was there any big lessons learned throughout, those 3?
So to be totally honest with you, I was just buying the houses because somebody told me to. I tell you, in 2018 is when I had like the total mind shift change. And that's when I started thinking about money. I started thinking about retirement. I started thinking about this stuff. And I used to always say, when I got my bachelor's degree in like year 10 in the Air Force, and the amount of senior NCOs that were in my class that was struggling to hurry up and get a degree before they retired or got out, I looked at that and I said, man, I don't want that to be me. Like, I want to have all my ducks in a row. So when, it's time to go, yeah, I'm not sitting here worried. I'm not stressed. I'm not doing any of that. So like I said, 2018, I did the whole Dave Ramsey Financial Peace University, became debt free. Then that's when things started sinking into my head. Like, okay, I'm debt free now. I have 3 rentals coming in. I'm gonna have a retirement check, a VA disability. I was like, man, my last year I was able to just max out my TSP because I really didn't need that money and just through all the investments and everything I was doing. So it was like a slow roll for me, but when it clicked hard. Because I tell people, January 1st of 2018 to January 1st of 2019, I did not watch any TV, did not listen to any radio stations. All I did was read books, podcasts, and YouTube.
I love it, man, dude. You are goals, man. Like, you are everything that we like preach about on the channel, as far as like, hey, setting yourself up for the future. Like the very first video that I ever made on this channel, that was one thing that I hit on. Like, hey, you don't want to be retired and you don't want to be close to retirement. Now you're struggling, trying to figure out what your next move is. You got to go work for somebody else. Yeah, you got that retirement check, but it's not covering what your desired lifestyle is. You know what I mean? Yeah. So man, I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's also a lot of people, and I think we don't really talk about it in the military that much, but you think about, there's a lot of people who go, 10, 12, 15, 17 years in the military, and then their career ends for one reason or the other. That's completely outside their control. And it's like, what do you do now? Right. You don't, for those of us that have been in the Army for a while, we're on that legacy retirement where we get the pension. So for people who've been in for a while and then all of a sudden their career ends, just like a stop sign, if they haven't really thought that piece through, then they're kind of left with nothing, Yeah,
definitely. As a supervisor, what I used to do with my troops, as we had to do their feedbacks. Like, I would ask, like, one day I asked them, I said, hey, how much college do you have? Like, how much, what's your education like? And they're like, oh, nothing. So, and I already knew the answer when I asked the question. So I was like, I had 4 of them. I said, hey, everybody, let's go to lunch. Lunch on me. And we went to lunch. And after we got done.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, we went to lunch. And then when we came back, I dropped all 4 of them off at the education center. I said, go sign up for something. I was like, I don't care what you sign. You go sign up for culinary art. I said, go up and sign for something, because just the same thing that you said, you never know. One bad decision in the military, your career's over. One, heart murmur, your career's over. You never know what can happen, so you have to stay prepared.
You don't even got to be bad. I've seen people get out or get put out because of just association, so it's not even like something that you got, or maybe something perceived that wasn't truly even founded, so that, that is crazy. So what's something that you did for your, I guess, how did you address that? I mean, I guess I see what you did there, but as far as dropping off the education center, telling them to hurry up and do something, but like, cause I kind of experienced the same thing. I was a commander up at Fort Drum, and I pushed like financial personal education, like really, really hard. I put out a lot of stuff. I gave people my course and things like that, but even still, man, it's hard to, at least what I found is I saw some soldiers take advantage of it. Right. And those soldiers that took advantage of it, I mean, they have a couple of them have multiple duplexes now, like that. We walked through the scenario and stuff like that, really helped them get into that wealth building. Right. But then some is just like, they don't, I don't know. It's just kind of like you lead a horse to water. Did you experience that? And then what'd you do about it? Like if you did?
So the first thing that when I explain any of this stuff to anybody, I start with the mindset. You have to, if you don't change your mindset, nothing changes. I tell people you can go buy a brand new car, but if you're still the same old person, then you're just going to be an old person driving a new car. Like you have to change your mindset. And I'm happy that it took so long for me to kind of get it, because starting to make some of the money that I'm making, I'd have just went out and blew it because my mindset wasn't changed yet. Once you get into the financial literacy part of it, you start understanding, okay, retirement and, legacy, passing stuff on to my kids, stuff like that. It starts to click. So until your mindset changes, like you said, some people going to take advantage and some people isn't. But
go ahead.
But I can tell you this, I have 3 guys that are getting out the Air Force right now. You heard the Skills Bridge program that they have. So the Skills Bridge is they let anybody, you can get out 6 months early to do an internship to, anything. I have all 3 of them doing an internship through me. And I'm going to be, and this is something that I told them 3-4 years ago, and they called me up. It was like, hey, Sergeant Hudson, like, I'm getting out, I need help. And it was like, hey, you was into real estate, you did this, and I don't, and I'm signing them on, and I'm mentoring them outside of the Air Force now.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Mike and his crew are doing up at 5 Pillars Realty in Fort Bragg, in the Fort Bragg area, and then also Charlotte area. I think that's a really amazing opportunity. So for anybody that's listening to this right now, if you're 3 years deep and you're not going to re-enlist or whatever, then you should definitely look into that Skills Bridge program. And you can go and intern with somebody like Sean, and kind of teach you the ropes and start on your wealth building path. I mean, that's awesome.
In the Army, I think we call it CSP, the Career Skills Program. So, yep, get in when you start doing your SFL tap, your out processing. Make sure you make contact with the right people.
Yeah, definitely. My wife is doing hers with Amazon, and like you're not allowed to get paid. And so, they're like with her resume, she has a master's degree. She was in human resources the whole time. They're like, ma'am, like you're hired. Like you don't even have to do she's like, well, the Air Force won't let me get paid. So I was like, well, let's create a LLC. But yeah, definitely.
Okay. So where was the, quick question. What was your mindset shift at? Was your mindset shift when you were in that class taking your bachelor's degree, or did you have another mindset shift? Because you said like you did college, I think in year 10, but then in 2018 is when you like something really happened and you really started looking into it. So what was that like mindset shift for you?
It was it's crazy. I had a little altercation with a commander where I don't want to get too deep into it because I don't want to get nobody in trouble. Yeah. But it was that right there made me say, okay, I'm gonna do 20 and that's it. I was like, okay, yeah, we're a military family, but they're only gonna stand up for you as much as they could before they get in trouble. So I was just like, and that's what kind of made the switch, because that's when I knew I was doing 20 years and not a day over. And then and I sat back. I was like, man, I'm 2 years out. Like, what do I want to be when I grow up?
Okay. Yeah, that's I think a lot of people experience, just like, I mean, we were just talking about that. I mean, we see people that are on year 17, year 16, year 18, that with that plan, and something happened, just like you're saying, it could be something has nothing to do with you, or just a disagreement, or somebody doesn't like you, and it's like, it's not really much you can do about that. And that kind of sucks. So, okay. So
it was all for the good. I tell people, it's funny. One of my E9, I just closed on his house yesterday because I sold his house for him. And thank you. And I told him, I said, man, I thank God every single day for that to happen. I said, because that's what opened my mind to so much other things and made me actually start thinking about stuff. I don't think I would be here today if that situation didn't happen.
Gee, that's excellent. Okay, so we started. We learned your mindset shift. We learned you did the 3 deals. Let's talk about some of these. So you did some JV deals, and then you also, how do you got to be a real estate agent, and what that journey look like?
My funny story. My cousin came to visit me. He said, "Hey, let's get into real estate."
This is when you were out, or when you were still in?
I'm still in. This is 2018. This is all 2018 was a jam-packed year. And he said, let's get into real estate. I was like, okay. Like, so we both signed up for, real estate classes. Next thing you know, he said, hey, let me borrow $200. And to me, I'm like, yo, you're a grown man. You don't have $200. Like, why you need $200? So he did a one-on-one conference call with somebody on the phone. I said, dude, did you pay somebody $200 to talk on the phone? Like, you talk to me for free. Well, to find out that $200 was to the wholesaler, Max Maxwell.
Ah, okay.
But at the time, I didn't know who Max Maxwell was. I was like, dude.
For those who don't know who Max Maxwell is.
Yeah, he's like the guru of wholesaling. Like, he's taking it to another level. So he was like, yeah, I think I found it. And to me, I was like, man, this is one of your get rich quick schemes. Like, I'm just going to go the regular real estate route and call it a day. And October in 2018, he had his Wholesaling Elite Conference in Charlotte, North Carolina. So my cousin was like, hey, come to this conference. So I was like, oh, okay. Pulled it up online. The tickets was $600. I was like, dude, I'm not paying $600. I'm sorry. He said, hey, I will pay for you to go if you get nothing out of the conference. So I was like, okay, cool. Free trip to Charlotte. I went to the conference, totally changed my life, changed that right there. That's what really, really like set the path. A week later, I closed my first wholesale deal.
Dang, man, that's awesome. That's crazy. So talk about that. Like, how'd you in 1 week? So yeah, well, go ahead and talk about that. In 1 week, you close your first wholesale deal. How does that work?
Yeah, I'm sitting there just listening. I'm writing notes. I went through almost a whole entire notepad, like, the ones that we steal from work. and somebody was like, hey, get your business cards, get your website, because the guy from Carrot was on there. And so while I was there, I'm on Vistaprint, ordering my business card, real estate investor. By the time I did the express shipping, got them in 3 to 5 days. And that was the first time I've been in the Air Force for 18 years. I never had a business card, so I was handing them out like they
not like candy.
Jolly Ranchers, what flavor you want? And I gave it to somebody, and he says, "You buy houses?" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, he said, "I know somebody that needs your help." I had no idea what I was doing. I just left a conference a week ago. Like, I did a course. I'm on YouTube, like, with a contract, trying to fill it out. And finally, I called my cousin. I was like, hey, dude, I need help. Like, he helped me, fill the contract out. We went on, we didn't have PropStream. Well, we had PropStream, but a lot of people don't know that, like, PropStream is a database where you could pretty much pull any kind of data on a property. So, we was doing the old Zillow way where, you go through and you pull up comps in the Zillow. And I was like, okay, I think I got it. Then I was like, man, I don't have a cash buyer. So I just started going to like every, REI meetup in Charleston, South Carolina. And this one guy was like, hey, I've been sending this lady mailers for the last 4 months. I want this house. So I was like, okay, well, I got it on the contract now. You're going to pay me. And that's how that deal worked out. It was crazy. Like, I was like, man, this wholesaling stuff actually works.
So how much you make on your first deal?
So my first deal, and I tell people, everybody watches too much YouTube. They think you're supposed to make $25,000 on every deal. I made a whopping $1,000.
Hey, man, but in a week, so you made $1,000 in a week.
Yes.
Put that in perspective. I mean, off a side hustle. I mean, that's while you're full time.
That was my mortgage for the month.
Yeah. So that's phenomenal. We had a wholesale stint for a little bit right before COVID happened, and we had the PCS, and then we went to we went overseas. Yeah, went overseas and stuff like that. We're gonna kick that back up here soon. But but it's crazy because when I got here, my NCO is actually a wholesaler. So he's actually going to close on his first deal tomorrow. So
nice. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for him. So that's pretty cool. So you got into the wholesaling. Are you still wholesaling now?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'll never stop that.
Wholesaling as a realtor, how does that work?
So I concentrate more on wholesaling than I do as a realtor. But as a realtor, I get a lot of referrals. So, I'm wearing two hats. But when I do the cold calling aspects for wholesaling purposes, now I could give them two different options. I say, hey, I can list your property, or, I could give you a cash offer. And my whole thing, I got in my first deal, it was a lady who was losing her house because she got sick. She was living with her two sons, 21 and 22 years old, and they just bounced on her. They didn't help her or nothing. They just left her there. So my first wholesale deal, I really, really helped somebody out. So that was like my business motto from there on out. So I'll sit there and I'll go over all the numbers with them, and I'll say, hey, I could put this house on the market for you. It'd probably sell in about a month or two. I mean, that was before the market went crazy, but, or I could give you this cash offer, and I'll tell them, I'm like, hey, I really think you should let me put this on a market, because you will make more money if I put it on a market. And then sometimes they say yes. So sometimes they say no, I want the cash offer.
That's crazy. I like that you talked about like how you're actually helping people. And that's one thing that Max Maxwell talks. I listen to a lot of his stuff as well. And most times in wholesaling, I mean, wholesalers. So really quick, backing up, what is wholesaling before I go into that? Can you explain just quick 2-second thing on what wholesaling is for those that don't know that are listening?
All right. So to me, wholesaling is, a distressed home or a distressed home owner, just getting them out of a sticky situation, whatever that distress is.
Exactly. So you're going in, you're helping somebody has a problem. You're writing a home, you're writing a contract on their home. Let's say the home is worth, let's say the home might be worth $100,000, but they can't put it on the market because there's so much damage to it. People can't buy it with a conventional or VA or some other FHA loan, some of those loan type products. So for the most part, you can go in and offer a cash offer. Let's say you offer them that $100,000 home. You say, I can write your cash offer for 85. All right. You get that under contract, and then you get a cash buyer to come in, and they might buy it for $90,000. That cash buyer is going to flip it, and then, he'll make his own profit. But because you found the property, you have it under contract, and you're able to basically to bring the buyer and the seller together, you are selling that contract for the difference of what you have it under contract with the seller for, and what the buyer is willing to pay for it. So essentially, you have it under contract for 90 or 85. The buyer comes in, buys it for 90. That difference is what the wholesaler makes. So that's wholesaling quick in a nutshell. But one thing that's not talked about a lot in wholesaling, a lot of times wholesalers get kind of nasty names, or sometimes they have a bad reputation because some people truly are, just kind of, ripping people off, right? Let's just be upfront about that. But you can tell a person's really good when they're talking about how they're helping the individual versus like, all right, I made, $30,000 off this person, but did you speak to them how Sean's talking about? Like, did you speak to them and say, hey, I can, we can list it, you can list it, and you can get this much. And yeah, you might make more money than that way. You're probably going to make more money that way, right? Just laying out the actual facts for them and giving them the options versus saying, hey, definitely, let's wholesale this property, even though it's worth $100,000. I know you don't know that, but let's write a contract for $50,000, and then they go around. I mean, it's kind of there's some people out there that are dirty, but I really appreciate how you're talking about like actually helping the individual. That's one thing that I think isn't talked about as much in wholesaling. So good.
I've helped people refinance their houses just for them to keep their house. I'm like, okay, there's a problem, and wholesaling, like it's just, you're a problem solver. I tell people, you're not in the real estate. You're just a problem solver. Guy, he called me up and said, hey, I can't afford my house anymore. I had him pull his statement up online. He was an older gentleman, 70. He didn't even know how to use a computer. I set his whole account up for him. Yo, the guy had a 5.8 interest rate, and this was last year. I said, okay, I was like, first and foremost, let's refinance this house. I got him down to a 3.1, which took $250 off of his mortgage, which he was living comfortable, but he's still getting older. He still calls me to this day. Like, I know that this is going to be my first flip sooner or later. But, I'm just letting him ride it out because, he's still, trying to hang on to the house. But I do everything I can. Like me and my partner, we used to go over there and cut his grass for him just because we know, we've been trying to help him out. We know it's inevitable sooner or later, but we already have our offer ready for him. We already found the apartment complex. We're going to pay for his apartment complex for, 2 years. And we got to leave some money set aside for him. And I already know that's my first flip.
That's awesome, man. That's really,
that's fantastic. Yeah.
Genuinely out there helping people out. Okay.
About.
So we got into, so you are a realtor. You started wholesaling before you got your license, right?
Pretty much. I did both simultaneously.
Okay.
Matter of fact, that week that I was at Wholesale and Elite in Charlotte, I didn't go out because I was going back to the room studying for my real estate exam. So I pretty much started both right around the same exact time.
That's awesome. And so you were a realtor and on active duty at the same time, right? Yes. How were you able to balance those two?
I had my broker retired Air Force. So, so I leaned on him a lot. My first year, I sold, 2 houses. My second year, I think I sold 3 houses. And then 2020, that's when it just took off. I think I did 16 residential and 14 wholesale deals. But my broker, and then on the real estate side, and then my wholesale partner on the wholesale side, I leaned on them as much as I possibly could.
But I love that option. I mean, that's something that we're doing right now. And we actually have to take the test
on Saturday.
Yeah.
Our 2 days from now.
Our real estate. Yeah. So hopefully we'll be licensed here in a couple of days, but that's pretty, I think that's an awesome, kind of side hustle for other service members out there. And we've talked about that a few times on the show, where, even though you sell 2 or 3 houses a year and you make, I don't know, 2 or 3 G's off of each one. You're talking about $6,000 to $8,000, 2 to 4 houses or whatever, $6,000 to $8,000, that you've made on the side. And then on top of that, again, you're helping people out. You're learning the ropes. You're kind of, I guess, hedging that the possibility of you, for some reason, dealing with a situation, having to get put out of the Army or whatever. Yeah. So I think that's a great way to start, a great way to get into real estate. So that's awesome.
I'm happy you guys do it. It's fun. Like I tell people, I wish I'd have became a realtor 10 years ago, because the amount of people that PCS in and out, it's a great side hustle, and it can turn. You have to, once you get going and the referrals keep going, then another point, by the time you retire, you're Keller Williams already,
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So what are some of the, we talked about how you manage your time, especially when you were in the military. How did that transition look when you actually got out of the military? And it seems like you already had the foundation set, right? So how was the transition? How were you able to build on that after you actually got out? Because I think there's a lot of us that are thinking about that, right? And want to know what that looks like and how that is basically.
Since I was did the Skills Bridge program, which gave me an extra 6 months to really, really deep dive into it. So what I did the Skills Bridge program with was a separate broker, and I kind of followed him around and shadowed him around, because next year I'm going to take my broker's exam. So it was pretty seamless, because this is something that that I had written down on my pen and pad every single night, the plans and steps that I needed to take to go ahead and do a seamless retirement separation, so that when I retired, nothing skipped a beat. The money didn't skip a beat. The lifestyle didn't skip a beat. I still joke with people. I go, in the Air Force, we only do 1.5 miles. I know y'all got to run like 5 miles or something. But, I still run my 1.5 miles, and then I'll be like, ooh, good. I'm still good for Air Force time. And that's just the way I did my whole transition. I still wake up at the same time that I did when I was in the Air Force. Still go to bed at the same time. Nothing changed. Everything just moved on out.
So it was a smooth transition for you, right?
Yep.
So just putting everything.
But I planned it.
That's the key. Yeah. So putting everything in perspective, I like your glide path, the actual journey that you took. You know what I mean? 10 years, you got your bachelor's degree, you figured out, hey, something's, I need to be doing something else. And you start getting to wholesaling, getting your license. You deliberately plan out all this. Throughout that time, you're buying rentals, right? And now it's like you have these multiple streams of cash flow coming in, right? On top of your military retirement, on top of your disability, on top of the 3 rentals, on top of now you're a realtor and a wholesaler. I mean, that's what we want for everybody, man. Like if you're listening to this and you're like, all right, I don't know what my next move is. I mean, this is an option. I mean, and it doesn't have to be real estate, right? Just deliberately planning out what you're going to do and how you're going to build multiple streams of cash flow. And you can do that while you're still active, right? You can start that foundation just like Sean did. You can start building that foundation now because you do it for 5 to 10 years, even if it's part-time, you're 5 to 10 years ahead of somebody who are just now getting out and just now starting. So
I have a friend who's, as soon as he retired, he got a contract offered to him to become a photographer for HBO because while he was that was his passion, pictures. He was always taking pictures. In his last 2 years, he would take pictures and he would send them to a contact that he found that worked for HBO. And as soon as he retired, he had a job as a photographer for HBO. I mean, so there's always something that, that we could be doing. One of the things I always say, because especially, new entrepreneurs, they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna quit my job, become an entrepreneur. And I'm like, no, work your 9 to 5, get home, and then work your 5 to 9. Don't, most of the military members, we come home, we take our uniform on, we got our basketball shorts, the brown t-shirt, and the slides, and we Netflix and chill. Like, hey, no, we need to start working on ourselves, preparing yourselves for whatever happens down the line.
Yeah. So I know it was really your cousin that kind of got you into the wholesaling, which got you into the doing the realtor thing. And I know you talked about your wife. Like, what are you guys doing to kind of make this a family affair?
So she's like I said, she's retiring. Actually, she starts her skills bridge next week. Mm-hmm. So her actual retirement is in September. But I'm teaching her all my contracts. All my lead generation platforms that I use. She's starting to run all my real estate ads for me. She's doing all of that. She's calling me right now. So I'm teaching her pretty much how to become my assistant. She loves paperwork. I hate paperwork.
You might want to cut it out. You might want to cut it out with the assistant stuff. Though, I'm just gonna throw that out there. Hey, Mrs. Hudson. Hey, Mrs. Hudson. I'm not involved in that.
No, but she's having a ball. Learning all this stuff. Hopefully we can grow it to where she doesn't have to work. And we can generate enough cash flow. I plan on. I've been heavily searching for a couple of Airbnbs out here in the Atlanta market, since Atlanta don't shut down for nobody, not even COVID. So yeah, that's about it.
That's really awesome.
Is she coming up on her 22?
Yes.
Oh, nice. So dual retired, man. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's hopefully maybe. We'll see.
we got some years, but yeah. No. No, I think that's awesome. And I think, it's weird because I think that for Dan and I, we spend the most time that we actually spend together is like when we talk about real estate, when we're kind of in that zone. And so it's fantastic to like kind of, you know, look outside and see other people doing that same thing, really just making it a family affair.
Yeah, I actually got I take my son with me everywhere, all my appointments, just because first of all, he loves taking pictures. Bought him the gimbal and all this other stuff. So when I'm listing a property, he does the video for the properties.
Oh, that's fantastic.
He's 15. He's 15 now.
Are you paying him though? You know, you can pay him up to what, like 7 G's and then put it into the IRA, you know, tax deductible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I learned about that about a year ago. So yep, him and my daughter, she's a full-time athlete. She plays softball, lacrosse, and she ain't got time for this stuff.
Oh wow.
But he jump. If I say I'm going to see a property, he's in the car with me.
Nice.
It's all about that exposure, man. Like that's something that we really we go really hard on.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had my kids in videos before, and every single time we go to properties, you know, that's exactly what we're doing.
They're in there, they're looking around, they're, you know, I mean, they're learning bits and pieces, but I mean, I think I for sure wasn't exposed to like home buying or real estate investing or anything, you know, which, you know, left me, I feel like it left us the same way. Yeah. You weren't exposed. So I feel like it kind of left us a few steps behind, you know. If we had been exposed to that stuff, we would have probably started our journey much earlier.
Yeah, I definitely would have. And you know, just a little plug out there. We might have to do this again because I'm on chapter 3 of the book. Yeah, because I told you I wrote down my plans, my steps on how to successfully, you know, get out. So I get 4 to 5 calls a week from people who are separating, retiring, saying like, okay, hey, what do I do now? Yep. So I was just like, you know what? I'm out to write this book and maybe one day, like I want to go around and speak to people. You know, I had plans to start going to ROTC in my neighborhood and start talking to them. But, you know, with COVID, like, I mean, I didn't X them off yet. I'm gonna figure a way to do that as well sooner or later.
Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. It's really just getting the information out there. And I think you understand, and we also understand, like, it's not going to stick to everybody and not everybody's going to take your advice, but man, if you could just get like 1 or 2 people, you know, get their mind going, kind of get them in the right space, especially you get those ROTC guys that are really just starting their careers out, man, you could make a huge difference in their lives.
And that's what it's all about. I tell people, I don't even want to, like, don't get me wrong, I want to get rich, but I don't do it for the money, you know, like, because I wish I would have known this, you know, my first 10 years in, because once I retired, I wouldn't have been working anymore. I would have had cash flow out the yin yang with a retirement check, with a VA check, and I would be on the golf course every day.
I mean, I love that. I absolutely love that. I mean, it sounds like your goals, like I have my goals written down and Corina knows them. It sounds like our goals are very, very similar in like teaching and exposing this to other people. Because it's not about just like you change that person's life, but you literally, if you think about it, right? That E9, let's take that E9, for example. Had he not told you that, you know, now that he told you that and you took action on it, right? He not only changed your life, but now you're teaching your son how to do it, right? Your son's probably going to teach someone else how. You're literally affecting a legacy. I mean, exactly. If you really just sit and think about that for a second, that is absolutely wild. Like you putting out a little bit of information, a few examples. I mean, that's literally why, you know, we started this thing. Like that's literally why, because we're changing soldiers' lives that are actually taking action. And people that listen to this and take action. Like I said, I have several soldiers that have no crap bought multiple duplexes now. I mean, you're changing lives, dude. Like, I don't know. That's so fulfilling me. It's just crazy. I can talk about that for hours. He gets the feels. So, yeah.
Hey, you know, it's funny. Whenever we are out and about and the word real estate comes up, my wife, she throws her hands up. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna be here for another hour." Because you know, I mean, granted, you know, I'm familiar with all the, you know, creative financing, subject to lease options, you know, all that good stuff. And I start going in, and she be like, "Dude, they just asked you what the interest rates were."
That's crazy. All right. So absolutely love your story, but starting to wrap it up a little bit, right? If you had one piece of advice that you could give to a service member out there that's trying to do what you're doing or trying to get to your point, what would that piece of advice be?
The one thing that a lot of people ask me, hey, what should I invest in? Should I invest in the stock market? Should I invest in real estate? Crypto? The best advice I tell people, invest in yourself. That's the biggest investment that you would definitely make. Because like I told you before, you can get all this information, and if you're not ready for it, you can get all this money. If you're not ready for it, it's all for nothing. I mean, granted, you could bounce back from it because you learned how to do it, but you just don't want to. You want to invest in yourself, invest in your mindset. I see you got some books back there. I see the 4-hour work week back there. Hey, pick up a book. Like I tell people, it didn't have to be no bookworm. Just read a chapter a day. Listen to it. Everything is on Audible. They got free Audibles on YouTube now. Like it's the information is out there. Just invest in yourself. That would be the only thing I could say.
Absolutely. That's fantastic advice. Sure. And Sean, how can our listeners get a hold of you?
So I'm on IG, Mr._real_estate_ATL. I had to get that in there, the underscores. I'm regular Sean Hudson on Facebook. I'm active on both of those. Hopefully we can trade places, because me and my partner, he's prior Air Force. We have a podcast that we started called Mind Your Wealth. We took a little break because I had some family COVID situations. He got family COVID situations now. So we haven't recorded this month, but yeah, we're going to get back to it.
Yeah, for sure. We'd love to, come on and chat some more. And then obviously once you get the book out and everything, we can circle back around and have that, have a conversation again, man. Like that'd be phenomenal.
I'll bring the wife this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and all of Sean's contact information will be down below. So all his IG tags, IG is fire, by the way. So he's got he puts out some great content on his IG. So definitely go check it out. So, actually, when we first got on the air, that's why I was like, Mr. Real Estate ATL, so I've seen his IG I've been following the IG for a while. So it's good stuff. But all his contact information will be there below. Hey, if you're listening to this on podcast, please leave us an honest review. We'd love to read those. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the like, share, subscribe, and hit that little notification bell so you get these awesome videos when we put them out. Also, we have a Facebook group. Sean's in the Facebook group as well. We have a pretty large Facebook group of other service members helping each other build wealth and create cash flow. It's phenomenal, the conversations and the help that's getting put out in that group. I absolutely love it. So definitely go check that out. And anything else that you need to find out about us, we got a bunch of other stuff. Just go to militarycashflow.com. Sean, it's been absolutely awesome having you on this episode. You just provided a ton of value, especially for everyone in the military period. So you just gave a ton of value. Can't wait to touch base with you again. So Corina, you got anything?
No, that's it.
All right. With that said,
thanks a lot for having me.
Yeah, man. And with that said, this is Dan Wynn. And Corina Wynn.
Yeah, and Corina.
She hadn't done this before, guys.
It's our first time, guys. Yes. I'll get it next time.
Yes. Signing off.